Kia ora, folks. Welcome. Hopefully that's not too booming. I'll dial it down just a little bit. And hopefully those folks who are online are watching this via the live stream. So we are recording this and we're live streaming it as well. Ooh, I'll just see if I can do a little bit of a sneaky thing, because we can probably do this. And now everyone can see us. I'm going to do a sneakier thing. These three people. There we go. So there is a presenter cam. Hi. So if you do ever tune in online, this is the environment we're in. There's a piano and there's wave. People around the place and cables as well. I'm curious, can it do a full 360? No. But it can go pretty far. The camera, if you're spotting it, is way at the back of the room, quite high up. So welcome to Maths 199, otherwise known as Advancing in Mathematics, which is also a mouthful. So we shorten it to MAX, which stands for Mathematics, Acceleration and Extension, because you're going to do some extra maths ahead of everyone else and extend yourself. So that's why it's called MAX. I'm going to get rid of me on the screen and put some words on the screen instead, now that you know what we look like. And today is a gentle introduction, not too scary. I'm going to introduce the wonderful team who will be teaching you. We'll tell you a little bit about each of ourselves and how we got to where we are. And then I'll run through some class ground rules, comms, how we're going to communicate backwards and forwards, course logistics, which is really important to understand how the course is going to run, how you're going to be assessed, assignments, project, test, exam, that sort of stuff, and very importantly, how to do well. So that's going to take us through the next hour together, and maybe a little less, and then we'll have a bit of a break and then head over to our computer labs so you can learn how that part of the course is going to work. And we'll sit in a computer lab that is kind of across the road from where you came in, and those people who are online, you'll switch over to a Zoom link, and that way you can keep in touch with us as well. So that's where we are going today. So first up, I should have said my name. You've probably had an email or two from me. My name is Peter Beer. I hail from the Department of Engineering Science and Biomedical Engineering, so I'm in the Faculty of Engineering, unlike the rest of the team. So I'm a little different. I started my life off studying mathematics and computer science and went out into the real world as a software engineer, and then got sick of writing software to sell office products. It wasn't a fulfilling life. And if you've ever seen a cartoon called Dilbert, which most of you probably haven't, it was about the hapless life of someone who was a software engineer, and my life strongly resembled that cartoon, and I was kind of miserable. So I was picking up a magazine one day. It was a magazine from an institution called Engineering New Zealand, and it had an article about the Auckland Bioengineering Institute. And it was all about how you could model the human body using maths and coding. And I went, I know maths, I know coding. This sounds way cooler than my life right now. So I ditched my nicely paid software engineering job and went and studied biomedical engineering. So I did a thesis in modeling the human vocal tract. And so that's how I sort of got hooked into the Faculty of Engineering. And then, as many people do, you realize money's important and being a student is expensive. So at that point I went, I need money, and how do I earn money? People like Johnny know how this works. He hires students to work as teaching assistants. And so someone hired me to work as a teaching assistant, and I turned out to be not too shabby at it, and they said, hey, do you want to give lecturing a go? And I did, and the rest is history. So I've been around for a long time now, teaching within the Faculty of Engineering, amongst many other things. I've done lots of other stuff. So you might see a one-wheeled apparatus here. This is something I love, and this will feature in my classes. So if you come into class when I'm teaching, you'll get to see one-wheeled wonderfulness. Okay, I used to run a business selling unicycles online for 13 years, so that was a bit of fun. And I've competed internationally, represented New Zealand, captained the New Zealand team to the World Champs. I'm still involved with the New Zealand Unicycling Society, and I still get around campus on one wheel. So that's a little bit about me. Other things you might want to know: I'm a Christian. I go to St. Paul's Church, which is literally like 100 metres that away. So if you're looking for a great church when you get here as a student in first year, awesome place. And they give free lunches to university students. So if you're ever here on a Wednesday lunchtime, go along and get a free feed. So I know you've got school and you're probably not going to be here, but study periods are a thing, right? And sometimes, you might not be far away. So that's a little bit about me, and I've been involved with this course for around 20 years. It's gone through a lot of iterations over that time, but it's still a course I love teaching, and I am now going to pass on to Paddy, who is not from the Faculty of Engineering originally, although he's kind of moonlighting now, but I'll let him explain his story.
I'm not from any faculty anymore. I'm free man. Dobby has, I've been given a sock. Sorry, I messed up the Harry Potter reference. Hey, I'm Paddy. Is there like the thing?
I'm going to do a thing where I put meet the team.
I'll meet the team. Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, then
yeah, it's me. Cool. So I am originally from America. Accent probably gave it away. When I first came here in 2015, someone was like, "Why would you ever come to New Zealand from America? You left California. Why would you do that?" No one has ever asked me that since. It's been a long time being here. I taught in the Department of Mathematics from 2016 until 2022. Then I was doing undergrad advising. I was telling people about some really cool jobs you can do, including stuff like working for Defense Force, doing fun things in cryptography. They went away. I was like, actually, that job sounds kind of sweet. I applied for it. I got it. They didn't. And I've been doing that for the past 3 years. It's been really fun, but a thing I really missed was teaching, and specifically teaching this course. I designed the version of this course that you currently all have right now alongside Peter a few years ago. So I wrote the course book, did a bunch of stuff with that, and this course has always had a soft spot in my heart. I really like this class. I like the math. I like the stories you get to tell in it. And Peter said he had a hard time finding someone to lecture about cryptography, and I thought that would be really fun. So I'm back. This is the only course I'm teaching. During the day I have my main job, so if I'm a little slow to respond, it's because I'm going to respond to emails in the evenings, and I'm sort of juggling my kid at the same time. He's right there. He's really cool. But yeah, in terms of background, did my PhD at Caltech. Came over here because I married a Kiwi. She works for NIWA. She does the cool math. She does like weather modeling. So if you ever want to get into that side of things, let me know. I can tell you lots of stories. Is that what you need to know? Do you all feel like we know each other? No? Maybe? Well, that might improve over time. But for now, that's me. Johnny, you exist.
Cool. I do. That's true. Yeah, kia ora. So I'm the third member of our teaching team. We have not quite introduced ourselves in chronological order of the material, but I am the third lecturer you'll see, so I'll be around for the last third of the course. Yeah, so I do come from the Department of Mathematics, and I have been involved with this course since 2023, which you might notice is like probably not a coincidence because Paddy was involved with it until 2022. So I took over from him in some sense as... Sorry?
Usurper. Usurper?
Usurper! I usurped Paddy. Thank you. Yes, I was not expecting...
Man joke team, sorry.
Yes, was not expecting the word usurp to appear in this talk. Yeah, so as I said, I'm from the Department of Mathematics. I joined the department in 2018, and before that, I was working in various places in the US and Canada. And before that, I did my PhD in mathematical logic, in fact, at the University of Chicago, where in some sense I usurped Paddy, who had just left there as an undergraduate the year before I started as a PhD student. So we actually know some people in common. which is kind of fun. What can I say? I don't ride a unicycle, and I don't have a kid. So, what can I say that's like vaguely interesting? One of my hobbies in my spare time is I do cyanotype printing of images. If you know cyanotypes, it's the blue thing where you use UV light to expose. If you've ever done like sun prints with leaves and things, I do that, but I use transparencies to make actual photos, and I am constantly trying to invent color photography, not successfully. All right, so I guess I'll hand back to Peter. Let me just give you this and not my keys.
Thank you. So hopefully that gives you a little insight to who we are. You're going to get to know a lot more about us as we go through the course. We're a friendly bunch. Don't be shy. Chat. In terms of what do you call us, you can call me Peter because that's my name. So you don't have to call me Mr. Beer or Professor Beer. I'm not a professor. In the university context in New Zealand, professors are the elderly folks who have managed to get promoted all the way up to the absolute top position, and it takes like 40 years to get there. And I'd like to think I'm still a little bit younger at heart than that. So yeah, not Professor Beer, not Mr. Beer. These two have doctorates. You could call them doctors if you want.
Please don't.
No, it's so much fun.
Okay, you can if you want. All right. Don't feel compelled to.
Johnny, Patty, and Peter are absolutely fine. So if you're wondering what to call us, university students now. You are university students. You're allowed to be on first name basis with your teachers. It's a privilege. It might take something a little bit of time to get used to that privilege. I know lots of people go, oh, I've got to call you sir. No, I haven't got a knighthood yet, so don't call me sir. So that's who we are, and that's what to call us. And this is a course where if you come into campus, which we strongly recommend you do if you can, you get to know not only us, but the people around you in the room. So give me a wave if you're here at orientation last week. Oh, lots of people, fantastic. So you might recognize some words on the screen from orientation, and there's no shame in doing something twice because that's repetition helps us learn stuff, okay? And so for those who weren't at orientation last week, high-low buffalo is a fantastic little tool you can use to get to know someone a little bit better. And if you're sitting next to someone random and you're like, how do I start a conversation with someone random that you don't know? High-low buffalo is, and I'm just going to model it because not everyone was here at orientation, and I'm going to pick on Patty.
No, the pointing.
Yeah, the pointing failed. So we're going to do a high-low buffalo. And Patty doesn't know what this is.
No.
So he's in that position of, we are sitting together in a class for the first time. We don't know each other. We're a little bit shy.
I have anxiety.
Yeah. And we're both mathematicians, so we're probably slightly introverted, maybe even on the spectrum, maybe. And we're like, how do we interact with people? And so here's a tool you can use. It's called high-low buffalo. I'm going to ask Paddy to share a high from his week, a low from his week, and something. Buffalo is just like weird, right? Something unique, unusual, doesn't have to be from the week, it can be from whenever, okay? And he's freaking out now because he's like, I have to think of a high and a low and a buffalo. And so I'm going to say, well, I'll start things off and I'll give him my high from the week, my low from the week, and some sort of buffalo, okay? And most of you saw me do this the other week, so now I have to come up with a different high and a different low and a different buffalo. So, high from the week, I was chatting to some people at church and they were like, we have a real big problem. We run the University of Auckland Board Games Club and we've got nowhere to stash our board games and our club can't run anymore. And if we don't solve this problem, there will no longer be a club playing board games. And big problem. By the way, you can join university clubs. You're a university student. University of Auckland Board Game Club might appeal to you. And they meet from 3 to 10 on Fridays, so if you're doing nothing on Fridays and you want to go play board games with some people, they'd welcome you. So anyway, the high was I found them a place to stash their board games. They have a large collection of board games, so the club can continue for this year. So I get to go and play board games with them sometimes now, and they are super stoked. So that was my high. I solved a major problem. My low, I delivered a lecture to about 500 students, first year students today, and you can see these wonderful screens. They work in here. They were not working where I was. It's great. You've got 3 screens, because if 3 screens are working, you can carry on. If 2 screens are working, you can carry on. If 1 screen is working, you can carry on. I had the sad low of no screens working. Very hard to teach when there's no screens working. So that was my low. My buffalo, so last time I talked about unicycle sumo, and that I hold the New Zealand Unicycle Sumo Championship title. That's a thing. And can't do that now, that one's been done, so something else weird or unusual. I also have done unicycle jousting. That's a thing, yep. Started unicycle jousting about 20 years back. I do not hold the New Zealand title currently. I came second at the last jousting champs. Really, really annoyed to be pipped at the post. So there's my high-low buffalo. And then Paddy is going, what am I going to do? But I'm going to see what he says. I have no idea.
Hi. Sorry. Oh, God. I had a script. It's all gone. Right. Hi. Oh, the hi. I remember. Who's been to Rainbow's End? Yeah, okay. So my kid is obsessed with Rainbow's End. We have an annual pass. It's super cool. I installed Minecraft for him, and he recreated the Gold Rush ride using minecart things all by himself and was showing it to me, and it was so freaking cool. So I was really proud of him. It was cool. My low is that aphids ate my habanero plant.
What? Aphids?
Aphids.
Oh.
It's on a rooftop and it's in a veggie pod, but like ants climb inside the veggie pod and bring aphids in and they farm them. And my buffalo is that if you chop up a habanero and put it on top of a cheesecake with lemon curd, it's actually delicious. It sounds cursed, but you get like that salt, fat, acid, heat thing. It's legit. Try it.
Cool. I'm not sure I'm convinced on hot pepper on cheesecake, but...
It's really good.
Okay.
I'll make it. End of the year. I'll bring in habanero cheesecake.
Okay, so now you've got an idea of high-low buffalo and you can guess what's coming, right? We model something in front of you, then you have to go away and do it. So turn to someone around you, and it can be in groups of 2, groups of 3. Share a high, share a low, share a buffalo, get to know each other. Give you a couple of minutes. Ready ho, chick chick. I am going to interrupt the speaking. Shh. Shh. Thank you. So now that you've got to know a few people, some of you probably already knew a few people, I would encourage you, if you did arrive with a bunch of people you know, don't be afraid to high-low buffalo some other people you don't know, because this is a fun group of people. If you're here, it's because you love maths, and the people next to you probably also love maths. And that's kind of a special space to be in. Ground rules, this is really simple, and you probably know it from school, right? Respect the speaker, don't talk when we're speaking. It's important to listen, and it's also important to ask questions. We're a small enough group, and it's a fairly intimate environment here that you can ask questions. So don't be a stranger. If you have a question, be brave, throw up your hand, ask a question. We'll give you plenty of opportunities as the course goes on to ask questions, and every now and then I'll say, hey, anyone got a question? But even if I haven't said that, feel free to throw up a hand, ask a question. If you're wondering something, probably half the room is wondering exactly the same thing. If you're online, a little bit harder to ask questions online, but we do have a class discussion forum where you can ask questions. And if you're online, you can jump on Ed Discussion, ask stuff there, and we'll try and pick that up. And also, if you're online, we have during the Zoom session, the lab, you can ask questions then as well, because that's a bit more interactive. Engage your brain too. I know it's going to be hard at the end of a long school day to come here and focus on maths for a few hours. We'll try and make it engaging, and we'll try and get you thinking about stuff. So it's not all just blur from the front. Although be aware, university is kind of a bit like that. You get 50 minutes of someone throwing stuff at you, rather than your teacher might do 5 minutes and then get you to do exercises for the next 45 minutes. We'll do 50 minutes of at you, content, and then you're going to go away and do stuff in the lab and later on in the week. So that's kind of how university rolls. Communications. Hopefully you have discovered that you have a University of Auckland email address, and hopefully you have realised it's your username at aucklanduni.ac.nz, and even more importantly, hopefully you've figured out how to access that. I know that's not the case for all of you. During the lab, if you're having problems figuring out how to get onto your email, let us know and we'll see if we can assist you so that you can get there. Because you want to check your email regularly, okay? Important stuff gets sent out to a university email. Now you might want to forward it to an email address that you do check regularly to save you having to log in all the time, or you can just get into the habit of checking this very regularly. It's important to check it because we send out useful information. And here's a little story from my days as a student. When I came to Auckland University, I was a hallowed postgraduate student, which meant I got a really cool, better email address that was p.beer, because P for Peter, .beer, beer is my surname, at auckland.ac.nz. I'm like, I don't have to have a student email, I've got like a fancy one. What I didn't realise, I also got a student email, but I didn't check my student email because I didn't know it existed. So don't be that person. Because when I finally did, a year later, I found out things like, hey, there's a typo on this assignment. The question is impossible. Here's the correction to make it doable. And guess what? I hadn't seen that because I didn't check my email. So I tried to do the impossible question and found it really hard because it was impossible. And hey, here's the reminder of what's going to be covered in the test. I'd missed that. So what did I do? I studied absolutely everything because I didn't know what was going to be in the test. I had to study everything. Or hey, here is what's going to be examined in the exam and the format. And I didn't know that stuff ahead of time. So don't be me. Check your student email. Get used to doing so. Okay? Keep an eye on Canvas announcements. If you haven't already spotted where those are, if you go to the home page, the most recent announcements will appear on the home page, and you can go and look at older announcements by clicking on announcements. And there's an older one there that welcomes you to the course. So if you haven't read that welcome announcement, at some point go and read it. That will have gone to your university email address, hopefully as well, if everything is plugged in. But sometimes students configure things differently and switch off announcements. If that's you, if you've decided to switch off email announcements, why would you? Don't know, but if you do, make sure you come and check them here instead. Ed Discussion is the name of the discussion forum we have. I would encourage you to use it as a great way to reach all of us and your fellow students, okay? I'll show you where it is. It's not too hard. See here where it says Ed Discussion on the side there? That's what you can click into to go and ask questions. Now, Ed Discussion is great because you can ask questions not only of us, the teaching team, but also of each other. Okay, so when you post here, you can choose to post privately or publicly. If you post privately, it just goes to the teaching team. Okay, we're the only ones who see it. If you post publicly, then we see it and the rest of the class sees it. And so if it's a question which you don't mind other people chipping in on, feel free to ask publicly, okay? If it's like, hey, how do I understand this concept? Or, what's in this week's assignment? Anything like that, we can open that up to the whole class. And because chances are someone was listening or has read something and goes, oh, I know the answer to that. I know what Peter said was in the assignment. I can answer that question. And so you get the benefit of not just us being able to answer it, but anyone in the class, which means a faster response. And there's a lot of smart people in this class. If it's a question about maths, chances are someone in the room knows the answer, okay? And so feel free to post publicly. And if you're a little shy, you can be anonymous to your fellow students if you want. If you're happy to just ask a question and be not anonymous, that's fine too. So that's Ed Discussion, and that's where you can ask us questions. Now, a word of caution, if you're going to ask, hey, what's the answers to the assignment? Please don't expect people to give you the answers to assignments. That's your work. You are doing your own assignments. If you ask questions related to the assignment, the help will be in the form of, here is the concepts you need to go away and do it yourself, okay? And that will be the help we will give you. We won't do your assignment questions for you, and we don't want any of you guys to do each other's assignment questions either. So if someone says, how do I do this question on the assignment on the forum, if you're going to chip in and give advice, remember not to answer the question for them and say, here's the solutions. Teach them the skills so that they can do it themselves, okay? Really important if someone says, how do I do the assignment, that you don't just go, here's the answers, in a public post that has just given the entire class the answers, because that'll do them out of the thinking that they need to do to get to grips with concepts. If you're wondering how to email any of us, that Meet the Team page that we just had floating around, by the way, is the best place to go and find our email addresses. So the Meet the Team page, there it is on the course webpage. Click on that and that gives you our email addresses. Okay. We'll be monitoring the discussion posts, so that might even be a faster way, because if you hit up Paddy and he's at work, he might, with his day job, he might not be able to respond for a while. If you hit me up, I teach courses with over 1,000 students, so I'm a pretty busy man. Sometimes I can't get to it. But if you go and post a question on the discussion forum, you'll hit all three of us at once, and then we'll have a race and see who can get there first. So you probably get a faster response on Ed Discussion. But feel free to email us as well. Just be aware we might not be able to respond absolutely instantly. We do have some lab tutors, which you'll meet in a little bit, and they are wonderful people, and they are also people you can ask about stuff. So there is plenty of help around. Okay, course logistics. You have hopefully checked out the course website on Canvas. Canvas is just the brand name for the learning management system we use at the University of Auckland. So if someone says go to Canvas, canvas.auckland.ac.nz is where any course that you do at the University of Auckland has their course website. You've probably only got a couple of things showing at the moment on Canvas. If you were a full-time student, you'd have a bunch of courses. If you are, as you guys are, a part-time student, you're probably not going to see a hang of a lot at the moment. So if you come into Canvas, and you go to the dashboard here, you will get all the courses that you are playing around with and enrolled in. And for me, that's quite a few. For you, it'll be a lot less. You'll probably just see Maths 199 and the Academic Integrity course. Okay, that's probably the only thing that's going to show there. You want to make sure you go and do the Academic Integrity course. It's a really short course, 1 to 2 hours max kind of time. Anyone done it yet? Yay. What do you reckon? Less than 2 hours? Yeah. Less than 1 hour? Anyone done it in under a half? Yeah. It's not a big time investment, okay? If you don't do the academic integrity course, you don't know about our expectations on academic integrity, and more importantly, you'll have a nasty looking did not complete on your transcript. And some of you will probably care about how your transcript looks. Your academic transcript is your record of your course grades, and having a D and C for did not complete can look a little bit, you've only got 2 courses on your transcript and one says D and C. They don't know it's a 1 hour course that you could have done in your sleep. Make sure you do that 1 hour academic integrity course. Might take you 2, might take you half an hour. Go and do it. Get it done early this week, and no time like the present. Okay? But Canvas is where everything is, and in particular you can come and click on Maths 199 and see the course webpage. This is where lots of info is going to go. I'm just slip back to here. In particular, we have a weekly schedule. So there's different people teaching you. Patty's going to take the first 4 weeks on cryptography, and then I'll take the next 4 weeks on modeling, and then Johnny will finish up with 4 weeks on graph theory. And so each week you can check in and see, what's happening this week in terms of lectures, and what should I be reading, what kind of problems should I be doing, what sort of assignments should I be doing. All of that stuff goes on our weekly schedule. Where do you find your weekly schedule? You can see some stuff is already up there because Patty is nice and organised. Week 0 is this week, our orientation week, and then week 1 is next week, and so on and so forth. So you can click into week 0 and see a bit about what we're doing, what you might be reading, what you might be watching. Lecture recordings will go on here, what you might need to do, some resources you might want to go and look at. And this will fill out as the week goes, especially once we've done a lecture, we put stuff up, resources related to it. So be aware that on the home page is that weekly summary, and then when you're revising anything, you're like, what did we do in week 2? You can go back and you can have a look at the lecture recording, or have a look at any of the resources we put up there. So that's what these weekly summary things are. Okay, and they'll slowly be added to as the course goes by. The lectures, you're in person. Some people are watching online via the live stream. You are encouraged to come in if you can, because it's cool to be in this room, and we love seeing your friendly faces, and it's a little bit easier to stay awake. I've got a course later on this evening that's a live stream, and my lovely daughter, who's the same age as you, was like, Dad, you were watching this course and you fell asleep. Yeah, I did. Just for 20 seconds, just a little nod off. It's a lot easier to fall asleep on a live stream than it is in a physical room. So come in if you can. It's a friendly bunch of people. It's a nice environment, and it's a good way to spend a Tuesday evening. But if you can't come in, no stress, no pressure. Just watch the live stream. So there are, I know, plenty of times when buses go on strike, trains go on strike, you can't get here, or you've got other commitments, and maybe you can tune into the live stream but you just can't get onto campus. Tune into the live stream. And third option, there's always the recordings. So we record everything and you can always watch that. And you can double speed us, or 50% faster. Double speed is hard. Like I find it hard at double speed, but 50% faster, no problem at all. So, and you can pause, rewind. So anything we say, if you do nod off in class, no problem. We know life is hard. Some people work late nights. You can go and watch the recording and catch up. I might wake you occasionally if you're falling asleep. Now, the workload for this course is about 10 hours a week. That is a guesstimate because plenty of people have different backgrounds. If you have been coding since you were in nappies and you know how to code really well, then obviously computer labs are going to be a little bit less effort, and computer-based assignment questions are going to be a little bit less effort if you already have those skills. We don't assume, though, you have those skills. If you've never coded in your life, absolutely fine. We'll teach you what you need to know, okay? But obviously, if you've never done something versus you've got heaps of experience, when it comes to an assignment, one of you is going to be faster than the other, okay? So 10 hours is a rough estimate. About 3 of that is here in this room, or watching online, or watching the recordings, and the rest of it is in your own time. So if you are thinking 10 hours a week sounds like a big commitment, some of you might get away with a little less than that. Some of you might be able to squeak by with about 5, 6. Based on past experience, there are people who can get through pretty fast, but some of you might need the full 10. Okay? And that's where it's probably worth talking about, does that workload sound manageable? You've got a couple of weeks to figure this out and decide, is this course going to be right for you? And there's no shame in going, actually, they made me head girl, and I'm playing 2 instruments, and I'm in the debating club, and I am doing school production, and I am trying to play a couple of sports. And actually maybe doing a university course on top of my subjects might not be a good idea. Okay? If that's you, there's no shame in going, hey, that sounds like too much for me, maybe I need to pull out. Okay? If you want to have that conversation with us, one of us, we're very happy to chat. And you've got 2 weeks where you can pull out, no strings attached, without needing our input. After that, if you want to pull out, it's a bit harder. We have to do something called a late deletion to be able to remove you from the course, so that it's as if you've never been here. So again, though, if you get to the situation where you're like, life is just too hard and I've got too much on my plate, chat to us and we can sort out a late deletion. So something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean you're not an awesome person. It just means you are actually an awesome person and in control of your life, and realizing we all have limits. Okay? You can't always do everything you want to do. There's a finite amount of time, and you've got to pick and choose sometimes. This is a great opportunity, a great course, but there are plenty of other opportunities, and sometimes you can't do everything. Righty-ho.
One minor point on that?
Yes, I'll give Patty the microphone.
Another thing to note with that, if you do wind up dropping the course, you can still come here. There are spare seats. We're not going to turn you away. We won't tell anyone else that you dropped the course. If you want to be like secret, that's fine as well. Like, we want people to learn maths. We're not actually too bothered about how you go about doing it. So we just want to make sure this is a positive experience for all of you.
Cool. And we've had people who say, can I drop the course but keep on coming to class? And absolutely. Once you've dropped the course, you do lose access to the course website. So you can still come to class, but you can't get on to do things like assignments. But if you're dropping the course, you probably don't want to do the assignments. But you can still hold on to the course book, and I'll show you the course book, because that's the next point. How do you find a course book? It's a beautiful book. And I can say that because I didn't write it, Patty did. It is a beautiful book. It's really nice. And it's free and it's easy to find. There's a big photo that says the Max course book. So if you haven't discovered that, at some point, click on that today, later today, and download the beautiful course book. And that's the course book we will be working through, all 3 of us. So that's where to find the course book. You can feel free to print it out if you want a print copy. It's a PDF for free. I don't think Patty's going to be mad at you if you print it out.
Do anything you want. But...
Yeah. So some people like printed copies. There are university printers. You are a student, you have some print balance already, believe it or not. If you go to any of the printers around campus, and there are like hundreds of them, you probably have enough print balance to print out 100 pages or so. So you could print out some of the course book, and you can top it up if you want to print out more. So there are ways of printing things. Okay, the 2-lane approach. This is new for this year. 2-lane approach, I talked a little bit about on orientation. This is a fancy way of saying there are 2 lanes. There are 2 things, 2 very different things. Lane 1, on this side we have lane 1, controlled assessment. That means people are watching. Do they still have those little old ladies who supervise exams in exam season? Do you still see some of them? They're watching you, right? They have names. They're called invigilators. Fancy name for little old ladies watching while you're doing your exam. So we have invigilators too. They tend to be a mix of little old ladies and little old men for exams, but also other postgraduate students. They make a buck by, we hire them to watch people during tests and exams. So if you're being watched, it is a controlled environment, okay? We can see what you're doing and what you're not doing. We can see if you are pulling out your phone and asking questions of ChatGPT, Okay? So in a controlled environment, we can say no AI and we can enforce it. And so we do. So lane 1 is a controlled environment, things like your test, your final exam. For those, you are not allowed AI. Everything else is lane 2. That is the uncontrolled environment where we are not staring at you, watching you while you're doing stuff. That's things like your assignments and your project, okay? You are not being watched by us when you're doing that, so you are allowed to use generative AI, okay? It is absolutely permitted to use generative AI, but there are good ways to do this and bad ways to do this, and I will cover that in a little bit. But just so you know the rules, test and exam, no AI. Assignments and project, AI allowed, okay? And I'll show you how I suggest you use AI to your advantage a little bit later in today. Okay. Let's zoom out and go to the next one. So in terms of assessments, how are you going to earn some marks for this course? You are going to do all your assignments. There are 6 of them. They are worth 2.5% each. If you only get half the marks, you only earn half of that 2.5%. Okay? If you want to earn the full 2.5% available, you have to get all the questions right. So when you're doing an assignment, remember, lane 2 assignments, you're allowed to use AI. If you get stuck on a gnarly problem, you can use AI to give you a hint to point you in the right direction. That's perfectly okay. Now, the temptation is, oh, I left the assignment to the last minute. It's due in 5 minutes. I don't know how to do this problem. I will just copy-paste the question into ChatGPT or whatever tool you like. Copy-paste the answer back. Yes, you've solved the problem. Did any learning take place? No learning took place. Sadness, right? You are here to learn. You are not here to earn marks. Yes, we make you do things to earn marks because we know that's a good way to motivate students to do things. But the motivation we really want is you are here to learn maths. And learning maths does not happen when you copy-paste the prompt into AI and copy-paste an answer somewhere else. Zero learning happening. So when you're doing your assignments, make sure if you are using AI, use it as a tutor. Use it to point you in the right direction. Use it to get hints. That's absolutely fine, and it's a good use of AI. Don't use it to do all the work of thinking for you, because then when it comes to the lane 1 assessments, where it's controlled like test and exam, you won't know anything, and you won't get any marks, because you're like, oh, I use chat for everything, and I know nothing, and now I can't do my test and exam. So don't be in that situation. So use AI wisely in the assignments and the project to give you tips. Assignments, 6 of them, and they're roughly every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks you'll have an assignment due, 2.5%. You want to get as many marks as you can from those. And you can take your time over those, right? What you can't do is do each other's assignment questions. That's not allowed, all right? So if you're struggling, you can use AI as a tutor. You can ask your friends to teach you the concepts, but ultimately any assignment work needs to be your own. We view AI usage as AI has no agency. You are the one putting in the prompts. You are the one thinking about the results. You are the one going, yes, this is smart. No, this is wrong. So AI usage is not deemed as a person assisting you. You're not getting help from a person. But what is not allowed is to say, hey, friend of mine, do my assignment question for me, or can I take your answers and submit them as my own? That's not cool, not allowed. The academic integrity course will run through that and make it clear. So your lane 1 assessments in this course, term test, exam, they are big, they are looming a long time in the future. We will give you lots of information when we get closer to that point in time. So 25% term test and a 40% exam, and it says see assessment overview for more information. Let's go and see that. So where is the assessment overview? It's one of these lovely photos. Let's click on that photo and see what happens. So this is just a reminder of what I've just said, and it's got lots of information that I've just talked about. Lane 2 assessment, you know, what that means, lane 1 versus lane 2, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about what the assignment and project are designed to teach you, what the mid-semester test is about, etc., etc., etc. Lots there, right? So you can have a look at that in your own time and make sure you read through that and understand it. Okay. The course schedule is another useful place to go. It tells you where you should be, and importantly gives you a bit of an overview of when things are due. So when are these assignments going to be due? Your first one is due on Monday of week 3. So assignments are due Mondays. The idea is that means at least you've got a weekend to work on it. If you leave it to the last minute, don't leave it till 11:49 p.m. on Monday to start your assignment that's due at 11:59 p.m. because that only gives you 10 minutes and that's not going to be enough time. Assignments can take a few hours sometimes, so don't leave it to the last minute.
They take a lot longer than a few hours. For people who are keen, assignments 1, 2, and the first half of 3 are all already up. You could do them now. I mean, not like literally right now, but you could start them. If you want an idea for what kind of problems we're asking in this class, look at them. We haven't covered the material yet, so you don't necessarily know what's on there, but like it'll give you an idea for the vibes of this class. For my own assignments in particular, I am not convinced the LLMs could actually get a passing grade. Let me know if you get a different experience than that, but I've been testing them on this, and they really... LLMs are not actually good at writing proofs in mathematics, not in my experience so far. So, yeah.
Thanks. They are really good at writing code. So there are code-based questions and maths-based questions. Assignments are usually a mix of both. You'll probably be able to get answers to code-based questions because LLMs, large language models, which is what ChatGPT and other AIs are referred to, they're trained on lots of data. And the data they're trained on affects what they're good at. And so they're very, very good at writing code, not so good at maths proofs. Sometimes I asked it how to write a unicycle. And it gave a beautiful set of instructions for how to write a unicycle. But the thing it screwed up, which as someone who's taught literally hundreds of people to ride, is it said you want the seat to be nice and low so that you can stand with each foot either side of the seat. And the problem with that, if you know anything about biking, is that then you end up pedaling with your knees around your neck. It's really biomechanically poor advice to have a super low seat. And it will actually make it almost impossible to learn to ride a unicycle well if you put your seat too low. So the correct height for a unicycle seat is just a smidge below your belly button. So if I'd used AI to try and learn how to ride a unicycle, wouldn't be able to do it. Okay? And some of you are like, hey, can you ride the unicycle? Yes. So because my seat is the correct height, I can ride a unicycle, I can go forwards, I can go backwards, I can turn around, and there's a glass table there. That's probably a really bad move, is to have a unicycle next to a glass table. So before there's an incident involving a glass table, we'll put it down. There'll be more unicycling later. Okay, assignments, you can see them Mondays, don't leave them to the last minute. There is a assignment due on Anzac Day, so don't forget about that one, even though it's a different colour, because Anzac Day is a different colour, because it's a day off school and university. And the assignments go every 2 weeks all the way through. King's birthday is also a holiday. Notice there is a project due there. In all honesty, you'll be able to finish off the project way before then, and you probably should. But I figured, hey, if you're the kind of person who leaves things to the absolute last minute, then maybe a long weekend to do your project is good. But in all honesty, you'll probably polish it off around about week 9, week 10, because you're all super organized, committed people who would never leave things to the last minute, right? Yes. The test, you can see it there, that's a to be confirmed, currently penciled in on 21st of May. We're just double checking on a few things on that. That's probably going to be the date of your test. Slightly awkward because I am supposed to be in Wellington speaking at an event that day. So just a few moving parts around that, but we will confirm that probably within the next week so that you know, have that test day locked in. The exam is sometime in the exam period, which we don't know when exactly. They don't publish the exam timetable until the middle of the mid-semester break. So around about Easter, just a bit after Easter, the exam timetable will come out. But it's likely to be towards the tail end of June. Okay, in an afternoon probably, all going well, tail end of June. You'll probably have to take some time off school. I'm sure you'll be very sad about that. You don't have to take time off for the test because we run that in the evening. Okay, So tests at university always run in the evenings, pretty much. Exams run during the day because classes are finished and students can come in. So that's a little bit about your assessments, when they are, and how much they're due. So as the assignments might seem like not much, but that's where a lot of your learning is going to happen. So even though they're worth a smidge compared to your test and exam, if you want to do well in your test and exam, you need to engage with the assignments. So make sure you do. Okay, when life happens, which it will, right? Life doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes you fall off your unicycle and break your arm. Actually, the last time I broke my arm was my bike, not my unicycle. Bikes are dangerous. Get it one wheel, they're way safer. I've never broken a bone on the unicycle. Can't say the same thing for my bike. Over the handlebars, into the ground, snap, broken bone. So sometimes that happens. It's really hard to write if your elbow's broken, right? You're in a sling. What do you do at that point when you've got an assignment due and you're like, oh, I can't do the assignment? You contacted us, right? And you let us know, hey, this has happened. And we can sort out, sometimes we can sort out an extension. Sometimes an extension's not possible, but we can move the weighting of the assignment to your final exam, okay? So if you get sick, if you get injured, if you get to the really unfortunate situation of a family member passing away, let us know so we can do something about it and we can move weightings around or give you an extension, that sort of thing. Okay, so contact us. Don't soldier on in misery going, I can barely write, I'm going to have to type with my left hand, write with my left hand, and I'm struggling. Just let us know. We can make some accommodations. Be aware though, we're not going to make accommodations if you get in touch with us and say, I forgot the assignment was due and I didn't do it. That's your responsibility. University, you're responsible for your learning. You need to keep an eye on assignment due dates. You need to know when they are. We will send you lots of reminders. So if you're checking your email, you'll probably see reminders. And you'll be reading that weekly summary page, so you should know what's coming, unless you're not. And if you don't read that stuff and you don't pay attention to our announcements, and then you email me or Patty or Johnny and say, hey, I didn't do my assignment. Can I please have a bit more time? Why? Because I forgot, because I was disorganized. Sadly, disorganization, not a valid excuse for an extension. Okay? Come tests and exams, it's really important to be aware that we have what's called an Aegrotat and compassionate consideration process. So if you get COVID, which is still a thing, right? You probably don't want to come into class and infect everyone. You're probably going to watch your course online if you get COVID. If you've got a test and you want to come in and you've got COVID, you don't want to come into class and infect everyone. That would be bad. We will see why later when we do some modelling of COVID and how things spread. So what do? If you've got an infectious disease and can't attend your test, you apply for what's called an Aegrotat. And that allows us to move the weighting from the test to the final exam. So don't freak out if you get sick the day before the test or something else happens, you get in an accident or whatever. And also don't freak out if you have something, maybe you're well by the test, but the week preceding it, you got sick. Your preparation for the test has been impaired, you can still apply for an Aegrotat, even though you've now got a bit better, and so be aware that's a thing you can do. Okay, if your preparation or your performance is impaired, you can apply for an Aegrotat. Compassionate consideration is pretty much the same thing, it's just for life circumstances that aren't injury or illness. Things like losing a family member if someone passes away. That can throw you for a 6. And maybe you've got a tangi to go to or something like that, and you have to be there and you can't be there at the test. If you are unwell and not contagious, you can apply for an Aegrotat and still come and sit the test. I mean, we don't want people who are coughing and infectious and vomiting all over the place, not cool. But if you're like, I broke my arm and I'm going to be in a bit of pain, but I could still have a stab, you come, you sit it as best you can and still apply for an Aegrotat. And because an Aegrotat will never have your mark go down, it can only go up. So it's worth having a crack because you might do better than you expected through your pain killer fuzz of I broke my arm falling off my unicycle. You might just be able to pull out a really good mark. And so there's no pressure, apply for your Aegrotat and away you go. So let us know if life is happening. Okay, we can help. How to do well in this course. We're on the home stretch. We've got about 4 minutes, and then we're going to have a bit of a break and head over to the labs. I said a little bit about Gen AI, generative AI. You're allowed to use it for assignments in your project. You should use it effectively. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like very shortly. And also practice, practice, practice. Okay, really important to practice, practice, practice. If you don't, you will not learn stuff. Do we want to do a little bit of juggling? Because that's the thing. It'll postpone our lab by 5 minutes. Nod, smile, anything? Yes? Okay. I'll throw the document, presenter cam. Right. I have juggling gear. And let's move the presenter cam over that away. Cool. Okay. Practice, practice, practice is super important. If I was to explain a concept to you and then say, hey, you've learnt maths, no, you haven't. Just like if I was to explain how to juggle to you, and I'm going to do that. So here's juggling, right? This is what cartoonists think of as juggling. It's really easy to see what the balls are doing. They're going around in parabolic arcs, they're going around in a circle or on the floor. That kind of happens if you haven't practiced enough, right? So what am I doing? Going around in a circle. This is actually kind of tricky, which is why I dropped. It's actually quite tricky. Now why? Because not too bad with 2 balls, but how do you put in a third ball? Where's the space for the third ball? You just got to go really fast. This is called the shower. It's the basic juggling pattern that people think of as juggling, but it's not the first one to learn. The first one to learn is this. This is called the cascade. Now if you track the orange ball, track the path of the orange ball, it makes a mathematical symbol, which looks remarkably like an 8 on its side. Can you see it? What symbol am I making? Infinity, right? I could do this forever. Infinite time, going round and round and round. Now, this is called the cascade. This is the basic juggling pattern that beginner jugglers learn. Now, how do I learn the cascade? I learn by picking up one ball and learning to throw it and make a good throw. The catch doesn't matter. When you're first learning, you just focus on the throw. Make a good throw. You want your throw to go up to about head height and come down. If the catch happens, great. Because if your throw is really good, the catch is easy, and if it's bad, the catch is not. Okay? So it's all about the throws. A good throw makes the catch easy. A good throw makes the catch easy. So when you're juggling, you focus on the throws, and then the catches take care of themselves. So that's a secret to juggling, right? Focus on the throws, catches take care of themselves. So when you're first drilling, you don't even need to worry about the catches. You just focus on the throws, and you discover it's really good exercise for your legs. Once you can throw one ball and the throw's good, the catch will be easy. And you just scoop, and congratulations, you're juggling one ball, which isn't very exciting. Then you grab the second one, and you focus on the throws. Throw, boom, boom. And you just do it over and over until your throws are so good that the first catch takes care of itself, and eventually the second catch takes care of itself. Now contrast this, boom, boom, time. Boom, boom, time. To this, no time, no time, no time. Where am I going to put the third ball? No room for the third ball. Look at all that room in the middle for the third ball to go. I've got time. So, 1, 2, 3. Do that lots. Eventually, you'll be so good at throwing your 1 and your 2 and your 3 that you can catch the first one and then the second one. And at that point, you panic because you've got 3 balls and only 2 hands. And what do? You've got to get rid of a ball into the hand. I'm going to do it higher, so slow it down, so you can kind of see what's going on. I'm always throwing up and up and up and up. And I'm basically swapping a ball in the air for one of the balls in the hand. And you don't do it that high, you do it about this high. Now, when you're first starting, you make your first, second, third throw, and it'll be hard. You'll have to practice. But if you can get that third throw, that's nearly there, and then you just keep on throwing. Throw, 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 throw. Now, I've just taught you how to juggle, or have I? I've given you some pointers. You could go and grab some balls. Who is convinced they can now juggle? If I was to give you the balls, could you do it? Would this happen, right? Probably not. If you've never picked up juggling balls, you won't be able to get up here and do this. You will need to go away and practice. And maths is the same. You'll watch Paddy, you'll watch Johnny, you watch me do maths in front of you, and you'll be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, I follow along. You kind of followed along on the explanation of how to juggle, right? Doesn't mean you can juggle yet. It means you've got an inkling of what practice you should go and do. So it's exactly the same with maths. Before you can get to the point of juggling, you've got to practice. Before you can get to the point of doing mathematics, you've got to practice and have a go at it. And you're going to make mistakes. When you first start trying to juggle 3 balls, this is what's going to happen, right? It's not going to work well. That doesn't mean you're a bad juggler, it just means you've got some practice to do. When you first start doing some of the maths we're going to get you to do, it might be different kind of maths from anything you've ever seen. That doesn't matter. It's new stuff. It's going to be a bit harder. You'll have to do some practice. Okay, we are almost at the point of going to the labs. The last little thing I want to do is just show you, hopefully I can pull up ChatGPT somewhere or something else. Let's see if I've got Copilot here. Actually, might do this in the labs. Oh, I've probably got Copilot here. Yes. So here's one I whipped up earlier. So this is Copilot. As a university student, you get access to Copilot, slightly better than the free ChatGPT you might be used to. And what I suggest you do, what I just did a little bit earlier today, is I put in a prompt. You can read it, hopefully. You are a helpful tutor who is going to explain mathematics to me without revealing the answer all at once. You'll guide me to the solution, teaching me every step of the way. Okay? I'm telling the AI to not give me the answers on the plate, telling them to make me work for it, telling them to be a helpful tutor. And you can do this with an LLM and it will go, oh sure, I can do that. LLMs, large language models, very helpful things. They will happily go away and do this sort of stuff for you. So don't use AI to do the thinking for you. Use it as a tutor to help you do the thinking. That's really smart use of AI, right? Because ultimately you want to learn maths, you want to be good at maths, and you don't want to get the computer to do work for you, because computers get things wrong. Computers make mistakes. And if you don't have the skills and the thinking to spot those mistakes, bad things can happen, right? Don't trust the stuff that comes out of an LLM. Sometimes it's awesome, and sometimes it's bad advice on putting your unicycle seat too low and makes things impossible, right? I have seen LLMs, large language models, generative AI, get better and better, but still making plenty of mistakes. And it needs to be driven, it needs to be used by people who are competent and have engaged their brains and can think. So don't trust blindly anything that comes out of it. Look at it with a critical eye, think about it, and use it as a tutor. Just be aware the tutor might sometimes make mistakes, just like we sometimes make mistakes. You know, the other day I managed to do a pretty simple power law mistake. I just taught a concept and then I wrote down exactly the opposite thing to what I said to write down. And I'm like, oh, I've been doing this 20-something years, I can still make dumb mistakes. So don't trust everything we write on the board. Occasionally, you know, a minus sign magically changes to a plus sign. If you're thinking critically, watching along, and you spot that, let us know. Don't wait 20 minutes until we get to the end of the example and go, oh, it didn't work. Let us know when we make dumb mistakes. We are human, to err is human, to forgive divine. So please forgive us every now and then if we make a little mistake. And we have gone, as I said, 5 minutes over. We're going to take a 5-minute break and you can chat to your neighbours, and then we'll head over to the computer labs. So for those online, we will probably pick up at about 5:45 on the Zoom call. That is now on.
Test. Okay. Cool. We're not going to start for at least 5 minutes. Do you all know the most important thing about this class? No. No. Growth is close. Eat food. If you have brought a snack, now is an excellent time to eat it. If you've not brought a snack, in future lectures, please bring something to eat. Try to eat it between the breaks. You will not survive otherwise. Yes? So that sign says eating and drinking not allowed. As long as you are not making a mess, I won't tell if you don't tell. Okay? Cool. So you've got something. Now's a good time to nibble. Cool. Okay. People ready for more math? Cool. Well, it's happening anyways. This is the third part of the day. Every lecture you have is going to be like this. It'll be opening talk for about 50 minutes, break, go to the labs, do some programming, come back here, another talk for about 50 minutes or so. We're going to try to get you out of here by 7:20 every day. We might end a little bit early. I will really never try to run late because no one is going to be listening to me once it gets past 7:20 anyways. If we have extra stuff we can't cover in class, we'll post some extra recordings just to make sure you're not missing any material, though. So don't worry about it on that front. So what I want to do today, though, because this is lecture 0, this is sort of a preamble to the course. The point of today is basically get you into the labs, get you to turn things on, tell you what the course is structured like. This lecture is meant to tell you what the maths is like, because the mathematics we do here is quite different to what you usually encounter in schools. Not always. There are people who have encountered the idea of rigorous mathematical proof before, but for most of you this is kind of new. And so the idea with this talk is to give you a bit of a preview of what that's like. We're not expecting you to already know how to write mathematical proofs, but the point of this class is to help you learn how to do some of that. Also, different thing, I try to put up puzzles at the start of most of my lectures. The idea with these is in any given mathematical talk that I give, some of you will know some of the things I'm already about to say. These are meant to be things to entertain you, to test your mind, and otherwise just be kind of fun puzzles. These are problems that I remember when I was an undergraduate at the University of Chicago. These are the puzzles that made me decide to become a math major. I used to be an English major, and then I had a bad Shakespeare class and a good math class, and I switched. I have very fond memories of these tasks. I hope you will as well. I will not usually go through the solutions of these in lecture, but if you do want to know the solutions, come and talk to me, and I'm happy to go through them with you. Cool. Should we get started? Excellent. So, what is a proof? Does anyone know? Someone tell me, what's a proof? Yeah.
Something that proves without exception a rule or without exception a rule or definition or function.
Yeah, that's kind of reasonable. So something that like explains why something's true. Different definitions. Yeah.
You make use of axioms to come to conclusion.
Yeah. The idea with proof is you start with other previously known base truths to try to conclude some later truth. Axioms are particular forms of those. Any other concept of what proofs are? Yes.
So there are different types. There's like contradiction, specific proof or general proof.
Yeah, there's a lot of different types of proof. We'll go through those techniques in class. There can be proofs by contradiction, induction, cases. There's a lot of varieties of those things. I think of those as like proof strategies almost. It's like ways you can approach a proof. And often they're quite structured where people refer to them by name. Anything else? Cool. So all those answers are true. I will give you my own spin on this. When I write DEFN, by the way, that's short for definition. If I ever write anything you don't know what it means, I know Peter said, like, you can raise your hand. I'm going to shortcut that slightly. Just say something. Interrupt me. I am an American. I'm used to people having a lot of very strong back and forth. American students have no respect. I kind of like it. It keeps me on my toes. So if you see anything, you want to know anything, just say something. It can be as simple as, your handwriting sucks, sir. What is that over there? You can skip the sir if you want. Like, please just interrupt if you want to say something. With that said, what is a proof? To me, a proof is just a rigorous argument that shows why something is true. And all those words are doing a lot of like load-bearing work in this argument. You can be like, what is rigorous? What is argument? What is why? What is something? The answer is kind of vibes, to be honest. The notion of proof and what counts as a proof will change as you progress through your mathematical career. When you first start off, people are going to be pretty strict most of the time. They'll be like, you don't know that result. You can't use that idea. You haven't justified that yet. And as you go later on, possibly into postgraduate studies, a lot of stuff you can say like, yeah, no, it's true by induction, and you don't actually have to say why it's true. Someone will just be like, yeah, no, probably makes sense, bro. So this will change over time. So the idea with this class is I want to tell you what this is like in this class. And I want to do this via a variety of examples and non-examples. So the idea of what we do today is I want to look at examples of what proofs are, so that you get a good sense of what these things are like. So first thing I want to do is something that I think that many of you are aware of in your hearts, but that people still consistently get wrong in assignments, which is the following statement. Examples are not proofs. And I'm going to put like a usually writer there because there's always an exception to any rigorous claim you want to make. So what do I mean by this? What do I mean by saying examples are not proofs? What will your marker have meant when they wrote examples are not proofs on your assignment and have taken off 3 points? They would mean something like the following. Here's a claim. Here's a mathematical statement you could want to prove. If n is an odd integer, then n squared minus 1 is a multiple of 8. That's a mathematical statement, right? Sounds like math. So let's prove it. How do we prove such a thing? Well, let's see what happens. If n is 1, I get 1 squared minus 1. That 0 is 0 multiple of 8. Yeah, you can write it as 0 times 8. If n is 3, you've got 3 squared minus 1. That's 8. That is 1 times 8. n is equal to 5. You get 5 squared minus 1. 24, which is 3 times 8. Looks good. Proof box. Is this a rigorous proof? Audience says no. Thank you. This is just a few odd numbers. I have not checked all of the odd numbers. This is still a useful thing to do. Investigation is a useful technique. If you encounter a claim like this and you don't know what to do, you should do this at first. This is a way to try to find patterns, figure out what's going on. It is, however, not enough. If you want to prove a claim, about, thank you, very helpful. If you want to prove a claim about all things of any type, you're going to usually need a general argument. And what do I mean by that? I don't want to do a thing where I say n is 1, n is 3, n is 5. I want to do a thing where I want to do with any n. So, example, what I mean by this, I would write something like n be an arbitrary odd integer. And I'm not going to say it's 17. I'm going to talk about a way to denote it. or write it as what do odd integers all look like? They all look like something of 2 times k plus 1, where k is an integer. When I have done this, I've made no assumptions about what the number is. When you're writing your own arguments and you're working in general, you should do the same thing. If I ask you to write a claim about even numbers, don't say let n be 8. Instead, you would say let n be 2k, if you're doing claim about even integers. You could also do 2k plus 2. That's also another way to write even integers. It's weirder, but it could be funny. Try it out. You've got this claim. We want to claim about arbitrary odd integers. I now want to look at what happens when I square it and subtract 1. Well, I should do that, right? N squared minus 1 is equal to 2k plus 1 squared minus 1 is equal to 4k squared plus 4k plus 1 minus 1 is equal to 4k squared plus 4k. This is a multiple of 4. Why is it a multiple of 8? Can I factor this further? What can I do with this? Someone.
Take out the 4.
Take out the 4. Excellent. Can I do more factoring?
Take out the k.
Take out the k. Why is this a multiple of 8? Yes?
Is either k is even or k plus 1 is even?
Yes, because if I give you 2 consecutive numbers, exactly 1 of them has to be even, because they're in a row. And so if you have 4 times an even number, that's a multiple of 8. I like to put these boxes at the end of my proofs. These are called Halmosh boxes, if you don't know what that is. You don't have to do that. You can be all QED with it. That's totally legit. You can write, I have proven the thing, make your own symbol, do whatever you want. Go for it. How are people feeling? This okay? Yeah, sweet. Okay, so that is the first thing I want to talk about. And to be honest, I think that's one of the most common proof fallacies people run into. I do want to have a caveat here, which is people sometimes take this lesson a bit too much to heart, and they're like, I can never use examples. Using examples would violate my code. You can use examples to prove claims as long as they are claims about existence. What I mean by that is, suppose I had to give you the following claim. 13 can be written as the sum of 4 squares in 2 ways. I mention this because I was doing some related research with ChatGPT and it got this wrong, and I thought it was pretty funny. It won't consistently get it wrong, so that's the nature of the limb, but I enjoyed it. Proof. Can you write 13 as the sum of 4 squares? Squares are just squared integers, so like 1, 4, 9, 25. What's one way to do it? Yeah?
3 squared plus 1 squared plus 1 squared plus 1 squared.
So the funny thing is that's exactly what ChatGPT said to me, so legit. But that's the idea, right? You tried to add 4 things together, you're trying to get to 13. What's another way you could do it? Yeah. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't a hand. Was that a hand? 2 squared plus 2 squared plus 2 squared plus 1. Yeah, that's it. That'll work. Because I get 3 4s and a 1. What's another way I could do it? Yeah. Exactly right. This you can prove by giving 2 examples, because I just said you can do it in 2 ways. the proof is just do it in two ways. Yeah.
In the second case, it's the sum of 4 squares, but is that... Oh, okay, never mind.
I was waiting for that. Thank you. We're going to have a good two-man conversation here. This is excellent. Thank you. Yeah, 0 is a very useful square to keep in mind. In general, if you ever want to feel like clever or smug in a lecture, but you're a bit lost, you can often just be like, what happens when n is 0, or something like that? And the lecturer will frequently be like, oh yeah, I didn't check that one. It's very funny. Try it out. Party trick. Cool. So that's proof thing 1. Warning about examples. So cautionary story 2. Proofs need, I'm going to leave this blank for now, because I want to give you the example, and I want you to tell me what's wrong with it. Okay? Cool. Claim. Root xy is less than or equal to x plus y over 2. Proof. How do I want to do this? Thank you. Part of the point of this demonstration is it's super awkward when you don't talk. Oh, whoop. So, I wrote some math, and I said, which is true, and I put a box at the end. I claim this is still kind of a garbage proof. It's got 2 main flaws, which I think are kind of the second and third most common mistakes people make in proofs. What can you spot that's a little weird here? Yeah.
Are you allowed to just rearrange the formula just off the bat?
That's the crux of one of the issues here. The answer is no. What we did here, what I did here is I started with the claim. I started with this thing right here, and deduced a true statement that a squared thing is positive. Is that valid logic? No, this is backwards. So this is when your marker is marking your assignment. If you make this mistake, they will say, like, this is backwards. You cannot, in general, start with your claim and get to a true statement and hope to have made any progress. If you want a reductio ex absurdum, absurdio, I have no more ability to pronounce things, sorry. There's the classic proof that 0 is equal to 1, with the proof that, well, if I can start with the claim and get to a true statement, I'll start with 0 is equal to 1, I'll multiply both sides by 0, which is a true thing. And, hey, did I prove 0 equals 1? No. No, I did not. You cannot do this. You cannot start with your claim, do stuff to it until you get to a true thing, and say, hey, I'm done. With that said, that's often a useful way to start your proof. Like the proof with example, this is a good thing to do if you don't know what to do. You can just take your claim and start doing stuff to it and see if you can mold it into a form that is more amenable to what you're trying to do. However, it's not logically airtight. If you want your proof to work, you need to start with true things and go to the claim. You need to write this proof the other way around. We're going to do that in a second. But there is a second flaw in this proof. This is not the only flaw. What is the other thing that's weird about this proof?
You assume that in one side, x and y, if you assume one of them was 0, and you didn't assume so on the other side.
I don't think I've assumed ever that there's 0.
So in 4xy, and then
Yeah.
you said 0.
I subtracted 4xy in order to get over here. That's how I went from this line to this line, subtract 4xy from both sides. Now, why was that hard for you to spot? I seem to skip a step. And why did it look like I skipped a step? What have I not done between any of these lines? What have I not told you anything of? What have I not done? What's missing here? There are no words. There's no structure. I didn't explain anything. I just kind of wrote down a pile of symbols. This is not how math works. You can't just write down a pile of symbols. You need to explain what's going on. If you don't do that, then when people try to read your proof, they don't know why you've gone from one line to another line. You have not made an argument that shows why something is true. That shows in proof is very important. Proofs are not meant to be some sort of like bookkeeping exercise that convinces the universe that you're correct. Proofs are a human endeavor. You're writing to convince someone else, another person, that you're right. And so you got to use words. And that is the hardest thing, I think, for people in math classes to appreciate. A lot of times you've come into this class because you're tired of people hitting you over the head with Wuthering Heights. But you do need words. They are a thing that are quite critical. Also, words are great. Read Wuthering Heights. Don't watch the movie. And to illustrate what's going on here, I'm going to do this proof again, but I'm going to do it the right way around and with explanations. And to start this, I need to introduce the claim here. Because when I do this claim, I haven't told you what x and y even are. And if I don't do that, then this proof doesn't really make any sense. I claim this is true, and I claim it is for positive or perhaps non-negative. Make it a little bit stronger. Real numbers, x and y. Because the previous claim was actually straight up false. If x and y are both -1, the left-hand side, that's 1. The right-hand side, that's -1. So it's just straight up not true. You need words to, at the very least, scope out what your variables are in order to describe what things are happening. This is also going to be true in programming language in some sense. Comments are how you indicate what your variables are supposed to be. It'll stop you from making horrible mistakes later on. So, real, thank you. Cool. So we fixed the claim. And now the proof. I have told you we need to start from true things and get to our claim. So this is still useful, like scratch working exercises. But let's see if we can reverse it. We know that 0 is less than or equal to x minus y squared because b/c is short for because, if that's okay. Because squared numbers are non-negative. If you want to be particularly pedantic, you can be like squared real numbers are non-negative because they could have been complex and oh my goodness. But not going to worry too much about complex numbers in this class. So we can expand this, and we'll get 0 is less than or equal to x squared minus 2xy plus y squared. Add 4xy to both sides. 4xy is less than or equal to x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. And then apply a square root, just write a symbol. And what you're going to get here, you're going to get 2 root xy. If I factor this, I get an x plus y squared. It's less than or equal to... What happens when I square root this? What do I get? It's another fun trick against people. If I take -1 and -1, and I square them, and I add them together, I get -2. When I square that, I get 4. I take the square root, what do I get? Yeah, you get plus or minus, or it is more accurate, I believe, to say you get the absolute value of x plus y. So square rooting, in some sense, is an object that could give you 2 values. However, when you apply the square root in mathematics, if you're taking it to real numbers, you take the positive or non-negative branch. So square root will give you absolute value of x plus y. But in any case, this is not quite our claim. We wanted to not have those absolute values. Why is this equal to x plus y itself?
Because you define them as non-negative real.
Yeah. Then divide through, and you get root xy is equal to x plus y over 2 box. This is a much better proof, right? You just put boxes at the end of your proofs. It's sort of a flex of saying I've completed the proof. It's called the Halmos box. If you want to look up the mathematician Paul Halmos, it's not pronounced how you think. It looks like Halmos, but it's Hungarian, hence my attempt to do the right pronunciation there. If you are Hungarian, I apologize, because I'm not doing it very well. How are people feeling with this? This okay?
I apologize if this is a weird question, but when you added 4xy to both sides,
Yes.
and the right side didn't seem to move at all.
Minus 2xy squared plus 2xy squared.
Oh.
Thank you. A good thing to do if you want to test out your proof as rigorous, by the way, is run it by someone else and have them look at your proof with this kind of critical eye. They should ask you questions like that. If someone asks you a question like that, then your proof in some sense is not complete. You should add more explanation until it makes sense. So in response to that, what I should do is add something and say plus 4xy happens here to make it clear to the reader what I've done. A good thing to do when you're in this class is to find someone else in the class, look around, left, right. You found someone else in the class. Congratulations. Talk to each other about your assignments. In some sense, we do want all your working to be your own, in the sense that I want you to understand everything you're doing. In another sense, I really would like it if you would run your solutions past each other. The way I became a maths major and the way I was able to do well and appreciate and become a mathematician and get a PhD was by having a good friend who every day after class we would go to the coffee shop and we would just yell at each other about proofs for 2 hours. I'd be like, no, it's true. Here's an argument. And she'd be like, no, you're full of crap. You're missing this and this. And we just go back and forth. It was very much an adversarial relationship, but it was how I learned to write arguments, was someone who would call me on every single time I got something wrong. I encourage you to do the same. Find people who will question you when you do something. And that is a very good way to become better at proofs. Cool. So I have one last thing that I want to talk about. And this relates to the lion problem I had here. I was going to do a bit of a spiel about LLMs, but I feel like you have had a lot of spieling happen to you today. I feel like personally with LLMs, they're good at giving you definitions, and they're good at sort of like, you can describe a thing to them and they can say like, oh, that's the Frobenius operator. And you're like, okay, cool. Whenever I ask them to do maths, they are kind of woefully they're not good at it. They either use completely inappropriate results. If you use LLMs to try to solve your assignment 1, they're going to try to use 1,000 different proof techniques that you do not have access to. If you try to use them in other contexts, they are going to sometimes lie to you. Despite that, do try them out. The way to learn how much they lie to you is to use them. Kind of. We're in a brave new world. No one really knows quite how this is going to shake out. You're the guinea pigs. Have fun. Good luck. But line problem. Did anyone solve this or think about it? You didn't have much time.
You can for the triangle, but for the square and above you can't.
Cool. Okay, so there's been some thought on this. Excellent. Let me talk about this problem, because what I want to do for the rest of the day is I want to talk about this and as an example for how proof techniques can work. It's one last proof technique I want to talk about in the positive light. So the setup for this problem is you are in a polygon. So triangle, square, pentagon, they're regular polygons. You are in the exact center. There are lines at the vertices. You can only move, you can move wherever you want. The lines are stuck on the boundary. They can't leave the boundary. You both move at the exact same speed. You don't have any inertia. You're both arbitrarily clever. You want out. And the question is, how can you escape from this? And the answer for the line problem in n equals 3 case is you can get out. So how? What was your strategy? How'd you get out?
So you take your position and the distance to the nearest point on a line.
Yep.
Then you compare that to half the distance, half the length of the line, because that's how far one line has to travel to get to you. And if you travel at the same speed, then whoever has the shortest distance gets to the point first.
Yeah. So basically you're using trig, right? If you draw out the triangle that you've got here, if this is equilateral triangle, what's this angle right here? So this should be 30 because it's half of 60, which means this one is 60. And which means, what about the side lengths? What do we have going on here? Yeah, so if this one is 1, you might as well, you get to pick your units, right? You know, pick some units. If this is 1, arbitrary units, what's the hypotenuse length? Wait, root 2? Should I have made this 1? Is this actually a bad choice of unit? Yeah. It should be 1, 2, root 3, correct? If I do it set up like that. Trig. If you don't believe this, you could have a calculator and you could calculate sine and cosine of 30 and 60 and find these angles. Or if you didn't know this, you could talk to the limb and you could be like, hey, what are these side lengths? You could find out these side lengths, right? What is the relevant point about root 3 versus 1?
Less than 2.
Yeah, because root 3 is greater than 1. If we run straight down, cannot get to us because of the labeled side lengths. Does that make sense? Assuming you're okay with the trig, there's not going to really be any more trig in this class, so I will not draw any more triangles at you. Don't worry about it. But does this make sense as an argument? A thing I want to point out with this argument that people often think you can't do is that this picture makes it very clear why this is true. Like, as soon as I drew the triangle, I drew the line straight down, you knew why you were getting out of the triangle. You're like, oh yeah, no, that one's shorter than that one, done. Maybe you do a bit of like struggle with the trig to figure out what the lengths are, that kind of thing. But it's pretty straightforward, right? The picture is why this straightforward. If you didn't have this picture and you had to write out in words literally what you're going to do, it would take you about 2 paragraphs and it would be a weaker proof. So whenever you can visualize something, whenever you can draw a picture, please do so. This okay? Cool. In that case, I have just one last thing, and it's the following statement. Claim for n equals 4. You can still escape. Non-proof. If you try the same strategy as before, you're in the center, you run straight down, what's going to happen to you? Are you going to have a good day? No, this is now a 45-degree angle. So the lion and you are going to get there at the exact same time, and you are going to be someone else's dinner. Does this mean that you can't get out? No. I've just shown you that this strategy doesn't get you out. But does showing that one thing does not work mean that it's impossible? No. This is a subtle form of like proof by example. I know that this one strategy doesn't work, but knowing that one strategy does not work does not tell me that all strategies do not work. This is a subtle way in which you can do that proof by example mistake. A lot of people look at that kind of proof and they're like, oh, I'll never do that. And then they do this exact kind of thing. So what is a general way that you could get out of this? What I want you to do right now is turn to people next to you and talk about this. How would you get out? Try things. Ask questions. Do math. Okay. So, people have had some thoughts. I've heard some really good, interesting ideas. It is 7:19. I promised you I wouldn't run over 7:20, and so I am not going to tell you the answer to this problem. If you want to know the answer to this problem, you can post things on the Ed discussion page. Happy to talk about it there if you want to figure things out. Also, you can talk to other people around you. I will say that there was one particularly good idea that people came up with, and it relied on the fact that you do not know any fear. This is a very important part of this problem. If you are afraid of lions, you could not succeed. I will leave you with that. Congratulations on completing your first class of Max. If you have questions, come and talk to me. Otherwise, end of class.